California has incredible natural diversity and iconic landscapes that support one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Much of this is thanks to the huge variety of plant species that thrive here, providing a stable base for the ecosystems we depend upon, from butterflies to mountain lions to humans and beyond. It's no secret that many of these natural areas are threatened because of things like development or climate change. But there's another danger our plant communities face that many people have never even heard of. A group of devastating, introduced, soil-borne plant pathogens called Phytophthora that we humans are unknowingly spreading into wildlands at alarming rates, causing severe damage to our ecosystems.
But there's some good news. Whether you live in a city, the suburbs, or countryside, work in an office, or the outdoors, there are simple actions we can take to prevent this spread to help keep our ecosystems healthy.
You might have heard that you should clean your shoes, tools, and tires after a dirty day in the park. And we're here to explain why this practice, called park hygiene, or more broadly, best management practice, is so important.
These small, everyday actions will reduce the risk of spreading destructive diseases and invasive weeds that can tear through our treasured ecological communities and cause irreversible damage.
Before we get into best management practices and how you can help slow the spread of Phytophthora, let's talk about what Phytophthora is, how it spreads, what it does, and then we'll talk about what we can all do about it. So what the heck is Phytophthora? In a nutshell, it's a pathogen, and a pathogen is any organism that causes disease. The name, pronounced Phytophthora, is Greek in origin and literally means plant destroyer. Phytophtheras are water molds, but confusingly, they're not a fungus like any other molds we might be more familiar with, like bread mold or green mold on a rotting orange. They're actually more closely related to brown algae. Here in California, you might have heard about Phytophthora ramorum, the pathogen that causes sudden oak death, and as the name suggests, threatens the survival of our iconic oak trees and oak-dependent ecosystems. Sudden oak death Phytophtheras are aerially dispersed pathogens, which is actually not our topic for today. For the rest of our time together, we're going to zero in on soil-borne Phytophtheras. So, why are we focusing on the soil-borne? First of all, soil-borne pathogens attack plants from the root up and can be even deadlier than sudden oak death. Second, soil-borne are actually more common than airborne Phytophtheras. And third, people move soil-borne pathogens quickly in the environment due to activities like introducing nursery plants or moving soil. But wait, aren't diseases just a part of nature? Why can't we just let nature take its course? It's true, but here's the problem. The Phytophthora species that are killing plants in California are all introduced, and plants here don't have natural resistance to these new pathogens. Like this endangered pallid manzanita that's been struggling to survive after a Phytophthora introduction. Just like with COVID or any other transmissible disease, preventing the introduction of new diseases into new areas and slowing their spread in the places they already are in are two of the most important things we can focus on in order to give natural communities time to evolve and hopefully develop some resistance. The best management practices we'll be talking about slow the spread of Phytophthora and prevent it from getting into our landscapes in the first place. Prevention is the best and cheapest way to protect our ecosystems. Because here's the thing, once Phytophthora gets into an environment, it is there to stay and it will change the landscape forever. Okay, fine. So Phytophthora kills the plants, but new plants can just grow back after the infected ones are killed, right? Actually, no.
Phytophthora can linger in the soil for years after its introduction, for a decade or longer, killing seedlings that try to grow in that soil long after the original infected plants have died. It can also persist deep in the soil, which is yet another reason it's difficult, if not impossible, to remove from wildlands.
Here are a few pictures of what that looks like. The brown plants you see are the seedlings that germinated, but were killed by the same Phytophthora that killed the adult plants in the area. Sometimes those seedlings can live for a couple of years, but it is game over once that Phytophthora finds them. The unchecked spread of Phytophthora can lead to loss of biodiversity if plants are being killed faster than they can adapt to a new disease. Biodiversity is essential for functioning ecosystems, and we need functioning ecosystems to survive. When we lose plant habitat, we start seeing a domino effect that leads to decreasing diversity or decreasing abundance of animals, including native pollinators who are adapted to live and thrive in these specific habitats. Pollinator decrease results in remaining plants not being pollinated and not producing seeds, leading to gradual ecosystem collapse.
Even if an area is infected, we want to prevent new diseases from coming into an already compromised and stressed ecosystem. Think of it this way. If I'm not sick, I don't want to get sick. If I do get sick, I don't want to keep being exposed to new diseases. The point is that it's always a good idea to prevent or minimize the number of weed or pathogen species introduced to an area so there isn't a piling on of negative effects. Sounds complicated? Yeah, diseases always are. But the most important thing to remember is that simple actions we take to stay clean can significantly reduce the transmission risk.
Now, let's talk about how Phytophthora got into our wildlands in the first place, and how it moves so easily from place to place and from plant to plant. In soil that's wet, flooded, or otherwise saturated with water, the zoospores can swim to find a new host. Here it is swimming to a new, uninfected root and taking hold. The zoospores are attracted chemically to new hosts and able to actively seek them out, which is one of the reasons this disease can spread from plant to plant so easily, especially under wet conditions when the zoospores can swim with ease. Root-to-root spread is also common. When the roots are close together and touching, Phytophthora mycelium can grow from an infected root into a healthy one. Phytophthora has been here for a while in urban landscaping, but it has taken some time for it to move into our wildlands. When people landscape or garden next to or in a wildland and plant nursery plants infected with Phytophthora, the infection can quickly spread into our parks. In this picture, you can see the source of infection from private property and how it spreads from side to side as well as downhill. From here, the pathogen will continue to spread because you can't remove Phytophthora once it's in an area. You can only try to slow its spread.
Here's a major point to remember. There's no treatment once Phytophthora is in a wildland area. Once it's in the soil, there's no cure. It's a chronic disease that will be in there for good, and you'll have to manage for it forever because it's impossible to remove or treat millions of pounds of contaminated soil in wildlands.
It also means that we'll have to deal with long-term ripple effects that will affect ecosystems indefinitely. So it's really better in every conceivable way to take the route of prevention.
When you think of it that way, the time you take to do best management practices is a drop in the bucket compared to the expensive, logistical, ecological nightmare that is a Phytophthora-infested ecosystem.
Now that you know what Phytophthora is, how it spreads, and what it does, we're finally going to talk about what to do about it. It all kind of boils down to 4 simple words: arrive clean, leave clean. So what does this mean practically?
Wow, I'm so excited to go hiking. I'm just gonna get my boots.
Oh, I was gonna spray mine down, so I can do that for yours too.
What are you talking about? Spray for what?
Soil-borne pathogens. You know, this is my favorite spot. I don't want to mess it up.
I have never heard of anything like that.
Whoa, those are some really dirty boots, Becky. We're gonna need to clean those up before we get going.
Okay, Ms. Clean. I mean, it's just mud. And we're just gonna get more mud when we walk on the trail. What's the problem?
Well, see, it's really about making sure that we're not introducing new soil-borne pathogens or plant diseases, or maybe some tiny little weed seeds that are stuck in the mud on your boot.
Okay, well, I guess your boots are clean, which is great. And, you know, I can do it too, peer pressure.
Oh, come on, Becky. It's not that hard. You know, we're just gonna scrape down the boots a little bit, spray it down with a 70% isopropyl alcohol solution, which you can find at the drugstore. And you know, I make it really easy on myself, and I just keep the stuff in my car. And ideally, when you arrive for a hike, you want to make sure that you're arriving with clean boots, tools, and equipment. You know, arrive clean and leave clean.
Huh, arrive clean, leave clean.
Arrive clean, leave clean. So what we're going to do is we are going to scrape your boots over a plastic bag with this boot brush because you have a ton of mud on your boots. So we'll scrape it all into a bag and we will throw it in the trash. And next time, what you can do after a hike is that you can scrape your boots in the parking lot and then do a better clean when you get home.
And how clean does it have to be?
You know, reasonably clean, just making sure you take off any visible mud on the tops and the bottoms and spraying it with 70% isopropyl alcohol. And just with those actions alone, we can reduce the spread of soil-borne pathogens and disease and weed seeds by 99%.
Wait, you're telling me that if I get my boots reasonably clean, most of the dirt gone, that I am going to eliminate the risk of pathogens by 99%?
Yeah, and it keeps your car cleaner too.
Before you travel to wildland areas to work or recreate, make sure your equipment is clean. This includes truck tires, bike tires, tent stakes, boots, tools, anything that has clumps of dirt or vegetation on it. If you've been working in your home garden and you wear the same boots hiking, clean your boots off at home before you bring them into a park. Home gardens often have Phytophthora. Stay on the trail when hiking or biking and try to minimize off-trail travel. Arrive clean, leave clean also refers to any plants or soil brought into an area. Make it a standard practice to use what's on site so you're importing or exporting as little soil and vegetation as possible. If you're a homeowner and you live next to wildlands, especially if you live on the ridgeline above a wildland, consider not planting conventional nursery plants for landscaping. You can propagate oak or buckeye seeds or grow many things from cuttings. Regular nursery plants do not belong in or near wildlands. Only ones grown in Phytophthora-free conditions should be used in these sites. For more information, contact your land manager or stewardship group.
There's a lot more to know about this, but hopefully this introduction to soil-borne Phytophtheras gave you some new and useful information to work with. Because here's the thing, we want to contain or prevent Phytophthora spread, so in the future we're not looking back with regret.
So remember,
arrive clean, leave clean!
Make park hygiene a cultural routine. Thanks for watching, and thank you for helping protect California's wildlands.